This program is sponsored by Newcastle County Government.
Welcome to Health and Self. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. Today we have Chef Dana Herbert in the kitchen with me today. We're going to make 2 healthy desserts. Now you guys know Chef Dana. He is the mastermind behind Desserts by Dana, so it's only fitting we make some desserts. But we are going to make them healthy. What do you think?
Hey, I think healthy is good. You know, the secret is always in moderation, in moderation.
I agree. You can have treats, but you can enjoy your treats, but we're just not going to overdo it. So today we're going to make an apple crisp. Let me show you really quickly what you're going to need. We're going to use 4 peeled apples. These are jazz apples. Basically, look, whatever you get from the grocery store, whatever apples you want to use from the orchard, maybe you went apple picking, grab them. You're only going to need 4 though. We've got some sugar, some cinnamon, brown sugar, butter, a little bit of flour, some protein-based oats, and then apple pie spice. So that's what we're going to need for our apple crisps. Tastes like an apple pie, a little healthier. But you know for a fact that my favorite cake, especially of yours, and my husband's favorite cake are your red velvets.
Yeah.
So you're doing a spin.
We're doing a spin today. I know Jordan's favorite is red velvet.
Yes.
We're doing a little spin today. We're keeping it a little bit more on the healthy side. We're going to do a little bit of an alternative sweetener to sweeten the cakes this time. Again, like Ashley said, always in moderation. Because even though we are changing the sweetener and we're lowering the carbs in the recipe, it still has flour in it, so you still got to pay attention a little bit.
Yes, yes. Well, and that's why we're going to make them cupcake form, too.
We're going to limit their portion.
Right, we're portioning it out for you. The apple crisp has apples. So let's get started. Why don't we make the apple crisp first, so that way we can get that into the oven.
I'm with that.
So I'm going to have you start to make our crust, our crumble.
Okay.
You're going to use the protein-based oats. The reason why I like these is because now we're adding a little bit more nutrients to it by adding oats.
So we got the protein-based oats in there?
We have about a 1/2 cup of oats, a 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour, a 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar, and then a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then our, what's that called? Butter.
Butter.
Butter. It's cold though, because you want it to crumble. Okay. I'm going to take our apples, and you can just go ahead and pulse that up. And I'm just going to do a quick little slice on these. I love apple crisp. This is one of my favorites to make really all year round. Now we do have our oven preheating at 350 degrees. This is also, I mean, if you ever wanted to make a weeknight dessert, this is a great weeknight dessert because it can bake while you're eating dinner, because it bakes in like 20
so by the
to 30
time
minutes.
You're done, you got something yummy coming out the oven.
Yes.
Makes sense. Now, I know we're using AP flour today. Could they use other flours like an almond flour or? Okay.
You definitely can. So I actually, my daughter Jordan used to, she grew out of it, had a wheat allergy. And so I used to use a gluten-free flour. But yes, you could use an almond flour, but she's also allergic to almonds, so that's why we don't use almond flour.
Gotcha.
But really any flour of your choice, because we're just making a crumble, we don't need it to rise as you would, say, an apple pie when you're making a crust. You have to be more considerate about what flours you use when you're making an apple pie. But it'll have all of those same flavors of an apple pie.
Now, is she allergic to other nuts?
She is. She's allergic to every tree nut. So
every tree nut, gotcha. And
then she's also allergic to peanuts, but peanuts are actually a legume. They're not a nut. And she gets that from DeReardon. She gets those allergies from him. We blame it all on him.
And you know what's funny? An almond technically isn't a nut either. It's the seed of a drug fruit.
Seed of a fruit. And you know what's funny is that certain certain nuts. She can eat cashews because they're actually related to the mango. So we have a glass baking dish. You can use a pie dish. You can use any kind of dish. Will you do me a favor? Will you grab me the cooking spray over there? I think I have some like nonstick cooking spray tucked in the corner. And then we're just going to give a quick spray so that way nothing sticks. You could use butter, but again, remember, we're trying to make healthier choices and cut some of the calorie content. Now, we're going to just throw these in here. Super easy. And then I have a tablespoon of granulated sugar, but this is pure cane sugar, so it's not as refined as your traditional white sugar. And then a tablespoon of apple pie spice. I like apple pie spice because it has cinnamon, the nutmeg, all of those kinds of things already blended in. I'm gonna take a little spoon and just kind of toss this around. Now there's one more thing we're going to top on top of the apple crisp before we throw it in the oven and top it with our crumble. Oh, that looks perfect.
Cool.
All right. You could smell.
And again, you mentioned you can use any kind of apple.
Any kind of apple. Yeah. There's no
no right or wrong.
No right or wrong. I've also added pears. So we're going to add a half of a lemon, the juice from half of a lemon.
Now I add pears sometimes to my apple pie, so we're like.
See, right? They marry. The flavors marry so well together. So here's a little trick when you're squeezing a lemon. If you don't have a fancy lemon squeezer, squeeze it into your hands and it catches the seeds for you.
And I think lemon just wakes up like everything.
It really does. It brightens the apples.
I put a little in my apple pies too, or even like sweet potato pie.
Yes, it tastes amazing in sweet potato pie. It also brings out like the sweetness. So even though lemon is traditionally a tartar fruit, more tart but it brings out the sugar. It highlights the sugars.
You can almost appreciate it more.
Yes. Okay. So our apples are like nicely coated with the apple pie spice, the lemon, and then we're just going to take our crumble and just pop it right on top. Doesn't have to be pretty. It's just going to bake. It's going to smell amazing. Now, if you really want to have fun, Chef Dana, you know what you can put on top once it bakes?
I don't know if you want my answer. We're trying to be healthy today.
But I think I know your answer.
What would my answer be?
Ice cream.
Oh, yes.
A la mode.
Oh, yes.
But there are actually healthier options for ice cream, too. There's ice cream with like coconut milk, and so.
I tried that. It was really good.
Yeah.
It was really good. I liked it. Okay. Like I started to make my smoothies with the coconut one.
See? We're going to pop this in the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes, really kind of as it starts to smell fragrant, and then it gets the apples baked down to your desired consistency. I like a little crunch still to them. I feel like you're holding on to a little bit of the nutrients as well. Right. But if you really want it like mushy-gushy like apple pie, you can leave it in for longer. So our oven's preheated at 350 degrees. I'm going to slide this in.
Oh, that's looking good.
You can already smell like the cinnamon and that apple pie spice, the nutmeg.
And the heat hasn't even hit it yet.
I know. Isn't that amazing? Okay. So that's dessert number one. And because we have Chef Dana here, we're going to make 2 desserts.
Okay.
Double your pleasure, double your fun.
No pressure.
No pressure. Here we go.
So I'm going to do Red Velvet Cupcakes, sugar-free. I used to work for some of the pharmaceutical companies, and we were always trying to teach people how to eat a little healthier. You know, manage their diets, drop the carbs a little bit, because in America sometimes we have that tendency to go right over the side.
Right, exactly. And you don't want to end up, or if you do have sugar challenges, you don't want to have to completely sacrifice everything.
And that's how we taught them, like, listen, it's unrealistic that you're just going to cut all this stuff out. So let's do it in moderation, get the portion size down to what it needs to be, and then you can enjoy it. All right, so I need to make some icing.
Okay.
And I need to mix some cake.
Okay.
You want to help me mix some icing?
I can. What would you like for me to do? You want me to mix icing or you want me to make dry ingredients? Which one do you want me to do?
All right, let's have you do dry ingredients. So
I'm a master at dry ingredients. It's not really too much science behind it.
So we have a little bit of flour.
Okay. Now, this is just traditional flour, or can we mix and substitute other flours as well?
Well, in this recipe, I'll be honest, I've used regular flour and I've used cake flour before.
Okay.
I know that those two are going to work well.
Okay.
I haven't ventured into playing a lot with some of the other flours. Would an almond flour work? Yes, I know it would. I know it would. I just haven't done it yet.
Okay.
But it would. All right, so we're gonna mix the dry ingredients together. We got the flour, we have our alternative sweetener there. Today we're doing Splenda, but you can play with other ones like stevia and Truvia and so forth. Whenever you're playing with the different sweeteners, I always say test them. They do different things when they get heated. So just test them out.
And they each have a different flavor. So, you know, where Splenda, I think, is amazing for, you know, not to use a specific brand name, but it's great for baking because it reacts very similarly to, like, baked goods. Where stevia, for example, is a great substitute for me in, like, coffee and tea. Because it doesn't really alter the flavor and doesn't leave an aftertaste. Okay, so I've mixed that. I'm going to add the cocoa powder, you said, right?
Right. Yep. A little cocoa powder. Yeah, Red Velvet's funny. Like, everybody thinks, oh, Red Velvet is a chocolate cake, and I say it's cocoa influenced. Its closest cousin would probably be German chocolate cake.
Okay.
You know how that chocolate flavor is very light in German chocolate? That's kind of where Red Velvet plays at with the amount of cocoa that's in the mix.
Got it.
So when people are using, you know, they might go home and use, you know, a box of chocolate mix and just throw red in it. You'd be like, you went a little bit too far.
Well, then it's no longer red. Because now you're mixing brown with red, and that doesn't make red.
No, it's kind of like a deep burgundy, muddy kind of thing going on.
So that was only like a teaspoon of cocoa powder I put in there. It wasn't a whole lot.
It's just so you can get a little hint of it, but you're guessing, what was that?
Yeah.
What was that? Right. And really, some of those Red Velvet cakes, they came to play back in the days of the Civil War. When the ladies were missing their husbands, they'd welcome them home with a cake like that.
Nice.
Kind of bleeding heart kind of thing.
Tear. Thank you for that history lesson.
Yeah. So on my side here, I'm going to mix together the wet ingredients. I have some buttermilk. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, the workaround would be to take your regular milk, add a capful or two of vinegar, let it sit on the counter for a little while, and it will curdle.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. I mean, because buttermilk to me, like when I'm using it in a recipe, I have to add it to the shopping list. I have to make a special effort to make sure I pick it up. But if I wanted to just make Red Velvet on a whim, because since it is my husband's favorite cake, and mine too, I could just do that, right? Just add the milk and the vinegar.
We're going to add a little bit more vinegar here, just a tiny bit of vinegar. The acids in here are what's going to activate the baking soda in the recipe.
Oh, okay.
We're going to add in the vanilla. Of course, we're going to add in a little bit of red color. Okay. We're going to add in the eggs, and we'll start to whisk it.
You're such a professional. I have to crack them in a bowl first and then pour it in to make sure I don't get any shells in there.
It's practice, let me tell you. There were a lot of shells in the beginning. A lot of shells.
Well, you know, that's what's fun. That's how you learn how to cook. And
Now, my last step is I'm going to add the oil. Now, I like to add the oil last. I like to get the eggs mixed up in there.
Okay.
And then add the oil. To me, I think it does better. And then I just drizzle it in, kind of like how you're making a dressing. And I just don't do all at once.
So I feel like it takes longer to combine if you just dump it all in at once.
It really does. You'd be surprised.
It has to work harder.
It really does to come back. It's like it's in shock or something. So I'm just slowly drizzling that in there. And there we go.
Good. Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
So we got our little, what do we call that, emulsion going on here. And that's the beauty of an egg. Egg's really an emulsifier in the whole recipe. Like you can tell when you leave eggs out of a recipe, that cake is not holding together.
So is there an egg substitute? Like I know my darling Jordan was also, when she was very little, allergic to eggs. So there was like almost like a powdered egg substitute that we tried, but that wasn't really fun. So what we started to use was like applesauce and things like that. Like, could you still use that in the cake, or is it like?
I've used applesauce in cakes before. It turns out pretty good.
Yeah, it still stays very moist.
It stays very moist. The only thing I will say is, like, when you use applesauce, to me the cake is just a little more tender than it is when you're using the egg.
Okay.
Something about the egg goes really like
it
this.
Binds it a little bit better. I agree.
Applesauce works, but it just doesn't get as.
And I noticed, like, you open up a cupcake and you've used applesauce, they almost kind of fall apart.
They do. They do.
Very easily, which, I mean, you're still eating it, so it's still going down the same, but.
Correct. All right, so now we're going to add some flour to this baby.
Okay. So just add a small amount a little bit at a time?
Yeah, do about a third of it, and then we'll mix it. Make sure she's being nice to us. And as always, when you're mixing flour into ingredients, make sure you start the mixer at speed 1 and not speed like 7, 8, 9, or 10. Been there, done that.
Whoosh.
Yeah, you're
storm in your face.
Yes, yes.
Flour storm in your face.
Okay, and then I'm going to give it a quick scrape, and we're going to add some more. Ba, ba, ba.
That's funny.
I've done that. That's like, ooh.
Flour storm in your face. I've done that sometimes when I just open the bag of flour.
That pressure.
Not paying attention. Yeah, it just whoosh comes up.
Mommy, what are you doing?
I don't really know. I don't really know. Well, and I did learn, don't wear like a black top when you're baking. Or if you're trying to bake before like a party or like cookies or anything before you have people over, don't wear dark colors like navy, black.
Bad idea.
Because then when you get the flour storm in your face.
I have done
all
that
over your
too
clothes.
On live television competition.
Hence why you're wearing a red chef coat today.
Yeah. our black coats look really good in the beginning.
Well, and you're also not wearing your white chef coat in case you get any of this red food coloring.
That's it. And that's what I was thinking of.
See?
I'm like, if I splash the red color, the coat's gone. It's done.
Gone. It's gone.
I have an opportunity with this one. Not a guarantee, an opportunity. All right. Let's get that mix in. I'm just going to speed it up. And then we're going to get ready to scoop these cupcakes.
Okay.
So I want to make sure everything's off that whip. Okay. All right. So there's our red velvet cake batter.
Now I can scoop while you start making the icing, because this right here, the icing, let me tell you.
All right.
I think that's what I like most about red velvet cupcakes and cake is the icing.
Is the icing.
Okay, so we just have regular kind of cupcake liners, nothing fancy?
Nothing fancy.
I don't need to spray them or anything, right? Because
Nope.
they're just cupcake liners.
Nothing fancy. All right. So our next thing is we need to blend together the cream cheese and the butter. So I'm going to throw the cream cheese in there that I've softened. If you're in a pinch, you could throw it in the microwave if you needed to soften it up for a second.
Hey, Dana, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Why am I using an ice cream scoop?
I like those the best because it's consistent. You don't have to. I mean, I've used a quarter cup. Quarter cup works well.
So just something that to kind of make your cupcakes even.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, it looks like my batter roughly makes about a dozen, but today, for TV purposes, we're going to make 6.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You definitely could get a dozen out that batch.
Well, and it's one for every member of our crew that's behind the cameras that our friends at home don't get to see. Everybody gets a cupcake.
The people that make it possible.
Yes, really. The people that make us look good. That's...
All right, so I'm mixing up here my butter and my cream cheese, blending that together.
And you're just doing it by hand?
Yep. If it's soft, you can. If it's colder, you'll probably need like a mixer of some sort to get it to come together.
So then you could just use, like, if you have the other attachments for like your stand mixer, you can switch it out, or a hand mixer.
That's correct. Yep, yep. Those hand beater like Grandmom had.
So does this meet your approval, Chef?
That meets my approval.
Okay, fancy. Then I will take them and put them in the oven. Now these can go in the oven with the apple crisp, correct? Because they need to make it 350?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put them in.
Oh, yeah. Nothing wrong with a little apple-scented red velvet. Oh, that's looking good, too.
You can already smell the apple crisp. It smells amazing. It smells amazing.
Have you made any other crisps before?
So, okay. My, like, absolute, like, if I were to say my #1 favorite dessert outside of, like, red velvet is, like, peach cobbler. Oh. I love a peach cobbler.
Come on.
And you know what people don't know is that Delaware is actually the peach state.
Yes,
you know,
it is.
Peach is our state fruit, and, like, our state flower, the peach blossom. People don't know that.
Before Georgia.
Before Georgia.
It was us.
It was Delaware. It was Delaware, like my sweatshirt says. But so I've done peach crisp. I've taken the exact same crumble topping and put it on top of sliced peaches.
Okay, so I'm just putting in here the vanilla and the Splenda. We're going to start to work that around, get that incorporated. Now, another trick, if you wanted to, like, let's say I was doing this and it was really cold. You could do just a dab of milk on your Splenda too, and it would cause it to break down fast. As soon as Splenda hits that moisture, she's gone.
Well, I noticed too, it has a lighter texture than traditional sugar. Like, 'cause I noticed kind of gets a little dust.
That is your word. They better pay you for that.
A lightier
That's it.
texture.
But you're right.
But it does, like, because I'm looking at how it's blending in compared to like a granulated sugar or like even like brown sugar or anything like that.
Yep, and then you just mix it all in there. And there you go. We got some icing.
Wow.
Yep.
That fast?
That fast.
By hand?
By hand. That's only because it was soft.
I'm going in to try because I love icing. Who doesn't love icing?
Especially cream cheese.
Especially cream cheese icing. This is the best part. This is why you need to head to Dana's shop, Desserts by Dana on Kirkwood Highway, and get, well, that is Capital Trail.
Look, for mailing purposes, it's Capital Trail, but for anybody from the area, we call it Kirkwood Highway.
Dana, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's just real simple. And again, as long as it's soft, it comes together like super fast.
Goodness.
Super fast.
I could eat that entire bowl. But see, when we talk about moderation, we talk about healthy living. Like, here's the thing. If you want to have a dessert, you have a little taste, and then you put some on your cupcake. You don't eat the entire bowl of icing.
No? We can't do that?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Shh, after the show. After the show, Dana, we can do that.
But it's funny. It's like my brother, he's diabetic.
Well, really quickly. The magic of television.
Oh.
We baked some already.
Yeah,
because we couldn't wait. We couldn't wait to start the show. So we baked some already, so that way we could ice them and eat them and enjoy them.
And have them ready to go. Yeah, we had just pulled them out of the oven.
So you said your brother's a diabetic.
He is, and my grandparents diabetic. I mean, my grandparents, they had, I guess, diabetes for so long. I didn't even know what they were talking about in the beginning. They kept saying, "Oh, I gotta go take my sugar pill." Well, you can't say that around a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. We're like, where do they keep hiding the candy every day?
Sugar pill.
And they're being selfish because they won't give us any.
They're not sharing.
Right, but lo and behold, they were talking about the beginning stages of their diabetes and taking the sugar pill and so forth. And so it was kind of like one of those things when I got to work with some of the pharma companies in the area of diabetes, it was like, okay, how can we do something where my granddad can still get his little bit of sweet treat? Because he loves sweets.
Well, they're good. And if you enjoy that, then, you know, this is a nice way. You figured out nice ways to do it so that way they can.
So we might cut down the starch in other parts of the meal if we need to bring that mac and cheese portion down a bit, bring that rice down a bit to allow ourselves a little bit of wiggle room in the numbers so he can get a little cupcake.
Well, and that's also, you know, with your body, natural sugars like that come from fruits break down easier and don't raise your glycemic index. So if you are sugar challenged, that's a good way to go when you're looking at desserts. But if you do want a traditional kind of baked good or something like that, looking at the portion control of, like you said, your mac and cheese, other starches that you're having within your meal, that way then it's like the trade-off.
Right. I always say the major challenge among the whole year, Thanksgiving. Woo. Lord have mercy. How do you control that one?
So with Thanksgiving, I'll be honest. So here's my tip for Thanksgiving, honestly. So, you know, your entire spread is out.
Yes.
I start at the vegetables. I start with the vegetables first because that's where, if I'm going to fill up, I'm going to try to fill up on the vegetables. Now, granted, sometimes the vegetables are like, you know, collard greens or green beans, and a lot of the nutrients are cooked out of them because we cook them for such a long time to get them soft and yummy and flavorful. Yeah, so
I got you.
But I start there, and then I move to the protein.
Okay.
And then, because I love some mac and cheese as well. Ooh, I'll have to share with you my healthy mac and cheese recipe.
You got a healthy one?
I do. But that, then I'll have a taste of the things that I love, the sweet potatoes, the mac and cheese. And if I'm still hungry, I go back to the vegetables. And I kind of keep doing that same formula until I'm done.
Okay.
Dinner done, on to other fun.
So it's like you had your little taste of the starches.
But I focus on the vegetables and the protein to fill me up more.
And not go overboard.
Correct.
I got you. I got you. All right.
Let's put some icing on there.
Let's see. I think over there we got this little spatula. Here's the, hey, little buddy. Little buddy. So for this, I'm just going to give them a smear because, again, I'm trying not to go cray-cray. And
That's
so
fair.
I'm just going to put some on top. Just a little dollop.
Sometimes it's just a little flavor.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
And I
Wiggle,
appreciate
wiggle,
the fact that you're doing it like us normal, bakers at home. You didn't bring your pastry bag.
I didn't bring
You're not making them pretty flowers and extra stuff that the rest of us in the world can't do.
I'm keeping it realistic. You'd be like, what? You didn't put flowers on there? Oh my gosh. just real
no additional
rustic
sprinkles and.
Mom wasn't making flowers and stuff on the cupcakes, but she just made good stuff.
Yes. I can smell our apple crisp too. That's almost ready to come out.
Okay. Just a couple more. And I mean, this cream cheese icing, if you're doing other cakes, so I don't know, like a banana cake, apple spice, pumpkin.
Oh, it would go amazing on an apple spice or a pumpkin spice.
Sweet potato.
We start to think of all those fun flavors of fall.
Right. And if you want to do variations, well, you can start to throw some of those spices that Ashley mentioned earlier. You could do cinnamon, you could do nutmeg. You want to freestyle, you could even do like a chai spice in there, which would be really good.
Now, I remember you made for me a ginger whipped cream. I'm going to get us some bowls for the...
Look, you're taking it all the way back. I'm like,
yes.
I did.
You did. You made a ginger whipped cream, and that was amazing.
All right, so we just got some rustic red velvet cupcakes.
I think this is about ready.
How is that crisp looking? Let me grab that baby.
Yes, since you have
look, I see little bubbles happening down there.
So it should be so yummy. And again, because we're using oats, it's butter, it's a little bit of sugar, a little bit of brown sugar. And so I mentioned, cook it to your desired bakeness. If you like the apples to be softer and mushier, you should use a big serving spoon. Oh, I know whose spoon we should use. We should use Chef Ruben's big spoon.
Yes. Shout out to Ruben.
Shout out to Chef Ruben. We're going to use your spoon here. Nice and crispy.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's not overdone. It's not that wet noodle apple, so to speak. That's just like
that's flimsy and it breaks apart. I mean, you could make it like that if you'd like to. You could bake it.
But I like this with texture. Like, if I was going to go and I was going to throw that coconut milk ice cream on top of here, the ice cream itself is already soft.
Yes.
I want a little bit of crunch. I want a little bit of bite with that.
Well, it changes the consistency and the texture of what you're eating, and it makes your tongue and your mouth happy. I'm going to give you the bigger portion.
All right. Awesome.
Now, this is hot. I can feel the heat coming off.
Look, I got to let mine cool down.
I know. Let it cool a little bit. Well, shall we eat a cupcake while we wait for this to cool? Let's take a bite of a cupcake.
You want to try one?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, do I want to try one?
There you go. You let me know.
Thank you. Okay. Here we go. I'm just going to take a big old bite. This is not ladylike. Dana.
It'll work? Look, and I mean, you had my regular red velvet. So
first of all,
does it work?
It doesn't taste really any different than your regular red velvet. It has the hint of cocoa, the cream cheese icing, the flavor. I mean, I'm a happy girl.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay. I'm going to try the apple crisp.
All right.
Change the flavor in my mouth here. It smells good. It smells amazing. So good. So refreshing.
What do you taste the most?
I taste the cinnamon and the nutmeg. And I love the little crumble of the oats on top, the crust. You can't taste
where'd you get your protein-based oats from?
It's a brand called Kodiak brand. But I like it because it gives you the carb, but it brings you the protein as well.
Nice.
So your body needs protein, to help it digest carbs easier. So you mix the two together and you get an oat, like an oatmeal. You can cook it as oatmeal. You can use it in place of your traditional oats, your traditional steel-cut oats. But yeah, amazing.
And it kind of helps your body out.
It helps your body digest the carbs. Okay, so Dana and I are going to continue to enjoy the desserts. I'm so happy you came on.
Well, thanks.
I'm so happy. I'm like sugar happy, sugar rush happy. Be sure to tune in next week with us. But Dana, thank you. Thank you for watching Health and Self. Cheers to dessert.